Okay, ready, on, green, green, green. I think we're up and running. Good morning, gang. Nobody here, just me. Is that enough to tell you what's going to go on this morning? This tool and this size of an object. It's going to be mixed today. It's going to be mixed. Of course, we're still carving the key block for the Patreon chibi prints, but it's being interrupted by this. Paper is out. There's no paper. I finished the first batch of octopi, and I'm doing the sizing yesterday and today on the second batch. So there's no paper in the freezer to be taken out. The yellow dots are funny, you know. There's yellow dots back on the freezer door again. The chart is there, and there's a string of yellow dots. Dit, 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 dit. For my name, of course. So. Well, the light pole is sort of levitating, I guess. I don't know. It's going to change. The sun is going to sweep across it. That tree shadow is going to take it out in a few minutes, I think. So, okay, what have we got this morning? Embossing. Embossing, embossing, embossing. Because stuff is still getting made. Stuff is still getting made. Lots of stuff is getting made, actually. Some of them. There's 3 packages came in for me yesterday. One was, it's already gone. I sent it to Ome. It's the next batch of number 5, the May print. The second group is here just in the nick of time, because the 1st of May is a couple of days. Then also from the printer we call Sudi Taro. He's the guy who works for another workshop, but he moonlights for us in the evenings. And we send him basically one job a month, and his monthly job just came back yesterday. We really can't afford to be ordering stuff like this, because this is stuff that really is for the shop here, and that's out of finish now. This, maybe you've seen this before. This has been in our catalog for years and years and years. It's a reproduction of a page from one of the old Hasegawa books. If we zoom in, he's just finished a batch. He's done a batch of, I think, 70 or 80 copies of these. These don't need embossing for me. The Ome staff puts our Mokuhankan mark on them. Our gain is high, or my voice is tight. I can turn it down. Mic gain says 3 at the moment. Let me roll it a little bit. The mic gain now says 2. Testing, testing, tweak, tweak, tweak. Let me know what's happening. Nice, nice. Lots of embossing. All the white snow left over gets embossed. This is a reproduction from a Hasegawa poetry book from, I don't know, 1902 or something. I forget the exact date. And this is popular in the shop. We don't have a shop anymore, but this is popular. And this was difficult to do, you know. He's got the gradation on this water. So you print a base blue first, and then you print a dark blue on top. And he has kept all these tiny little snowflakes. These are all carved out of the block. And he has kept paste out of those snowflakes. Look at this. Look at the size. Look at the scale here. Hey, this is nice. He has done a nice job on this. Karen says, how? Top secret. Experience. Experience. Just to balance. When you're doing gradation, you're going to moisten the block. Too much water is fatal. It goes in the holes. Too much paste is fatal. It goes in the holes. Not enough, and you don't get a rich color. It's got to be just Goldilocks. It's got to be just right. Anyway, after I finish checking these, they've got to go under the scope one by one, because there'll be little bits of bark and chitty. There's his no good pile. 4 prints. The good pile is going to be about 75, and the no good pile is 4. That's what you get when you deal with pros. Very nice. Very nice, very nice. Okay, anyway, that's nothing to do with today's work here. Yamamoto-san, our young printer. This is not show and tell first, this is just getting my bench cleared. Show and tell is something, it's something fun. I pulled a folder from upstairs, from the collection upstairs. When I'm picking a show and tell, you know, it's easy to do, grab a small little item that sits there under the camera and you can show it, but most of the stuff up there is too big. It's giant folios or big, or folders full of hundreds of prints. So it's tough to find something up there that I can easily show here. So what I did was today, well, whatever, we'll talk about when we get there. We have, of course, we have another batch of great, oh, look at this, wow, art. We have another batch of great waves. How are we going to do this? I need an in-train and out-train. Again, this is Yamamoto-san, the young boy who's working for us. These prints haven't been checked yet. I've got to go through each one by one, checking for chiri and all that kind of stuff. We'll do that later. What I'll do this morning, though, is I have to put the embossing of our names. Hokusai. He has done another beautiful, beautiful job. These blocks, you know, it's both things are true. The blocks are getting better and they are starting to wear a bit. The beta blocks, the flat blocks, are just getting smoother and smoother and smoother. And if I had a copy of the first Great Wave that we printed, you'd be able to see lots of wood grain here because it's new blocks. But as the color blocks get older, they just get smoother and smoother and smoother. They are to die for. And what will happen, of course, as the print gradually gets older, the small areas will start to break down. And we still now, I forget what we are, we're nearly 1,800 or something copies of this, and it's still doing just fine. All these things, the guy's eyes, the hairs, the thin lines here, this block is doing just fine. Look at this, up to the peak of this. People are, you know, they're worried about it. Dave, you sold so many copies of this Great Wave. It is looking fine. $1,600, $1,700 copies. It's because we demand that our printers take care of this instead of bang, 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 smashing it up, you know. This is wonderful. It's just, there's never been anything like this made. My God. Anyway, my job today now, on these 60 copies or so, I have to put the embossing in the corner. So let me get started. Now you get it right. I won't put the wrong guy's name on here. Did you reserve the wood for the replacement key block for the Wave? I do indeed. It's been quietly, it is as I speak, it is quietly sleeping over in Ome. We have the key block ready for the second version of the Great Wave. I have no idea when we're going to get to that. It's impossible right now, and it's not needed, as you saw. It's not needed yet. But yeah, we are ready for that. We are ready for that. And actually, it's the same thing. I'm going to need to get another block ready for the reserved, for the next key block for the octopus, because clearly that is going to be another one of those gifts that just keeps on giving. It's astonishing what's happened over the past week or so with the octopus. You know, April isn't finished yet. April has been our biggest month ever. Speaking of online, the shop is zero. The shop is wiped out. No, ready as in wood. No, the piece of wood is reserved. The wood is reserved. Of course we haven't carved it. It's going to be Chon-san. Chon-san's going to do it. The website says unavailable. The key block. Yes, the Great Waves is still unavailable. It's permanently unavailable. There's a waiting list for it. The Great Wave is on waiting list mode. And this batch that's coming in here now, these were sold. Well, they were reserved ages and ages and ages ago. Once I confirm how many we've got here, I'll let Cameron know, and he will let that many people know on the waiting list. A bunch of them will put their orders in. Now, not everybody on the waiting list buys. It's not even half, actually. So if I get 50 prints here today, he will notify 50 people first, and then wait a week, and maybe 20, 25 will order. And then he will count again and notify the next 25 people, and wait a week. And then 12, 15 will order, and he will notify the next 10 people. It goes on like that. Yes, I'm sorry, there's just no other way to do it. And how long is the list? I don't know. Cameron runs it. It's long. But as I said, it's been moving forward quite a lot, because Yamamoto-san, he brought us a batch just last month, and there's another batch. So we are moving through it, and also, as I said, not everybody who's on the list buys a print. So it does actually, sometimes it moves along. Okay, let me get organized here. What am I doing? Namigura, check. Namigura, Yamamoto-kun, Yamamoto-kun, Kento, Kento, let's go. Slightly moisten that corner of the paper in the registration mark, and here we go. And let's have a look at it. And here we go, there's the embossing. And it says, picture, Katsushika Hokusai, the designer's name, of course. And it says, Hori, carving, Buru, Davido. And it actually says Horiburu. We've printed the word Horiburu on every one of these prints. And then Suri, printing Yamamoto Shun. And this goes on every one of the prints. My next step, I'll do it off stream, I'll do it later, I'll be checking every one of these things, trying to pick out the little bits of bark that are left and confirming they're okay to go. And they will then go to our shipping center in Ome. And shipping. Oh, we are almost ready to get up and running on shipping again. The Japanese Post Office closed off America, a week ago or so. The private companies, DHLs and FedEx, are gloriously happy about that. They are also involved in what do they call surge pricing. There's no more economy shipping by FedEx here. It's all gone to priority. And there's no way we can afford to send one by one a package like this. The print is $150. We can't pay $80 for shipping to get it to a customer in America. Nobody is going to want to pay that much. But what we've done is, I should put this around. We have now got 2 shipping agents, one in the US and one in Germany. And Germany, of course, handles all the EU, and the American one handles the Americas. So we're shipping them in bulk. In fact, the first shipment of octopuses will probably leave this afternoon. A shipment of 37 octopus prints will leave this afternoon to our American agent. You know him, he may be even on the screen here this morning. And from there they will go by domestic. I think it's either USPS or UPS. I don't know what they're using, I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure. So there's still a couple of holes. We can't handle Australia yet. There's not enough people down there in our customer base to handle a FedEx box with 40 or 50 prints at a time. And we can't handle Canada. Japan Post still ships directly to Canada, but it takes 1,562 years. Yes, I know, UPS, that's what I said, USPS, that's what I said. I'm not sure which our agent is using, because some of the customers, they ask for priority, and some ask for regular mail. So once our agent over there gets it, it goes out, some by USPS, and some, I think, are also going by UPS. Good. The timing on this hasn't worked out very well, actually, and he's way faster on this than I thought he was, and it's caused a bit of a problem for me. He wants his next job. And his next job was going to be the next batch of octopus prints. But I'm still using the blocks. I need to make the first 100 copies myself. I did one run, got half, and now I'm in the middle. I'm not in the middle, I've started the second run. So I've still got the blocks, but he wants them. And that ain't gonna happen. I've got to finish mine first. So, but there's not enough time for him to do another batch of these, and also we want to let this block rest. We don't want to start another batch of Great Waves right away. So I have to come up with another job for Yamamoto-san. And what would really be good is give him the Patreon blocks. He can just run 500 Patreon chibis in a few days while he's waiting. But those blocks aren't ready either. Another idea would be to give him the blocks for the second print in the Sushi Cat series, the print that's called Ramen Cats. We did our test print of it a couple months ago, Chiharu-san did. It's looking okay, but it needs 2 more blocks being carved. We found out after the test was over that we need 2 more blocks. So it would be great if that set was ready, we could give the Ramen Cats to Yamamoto-san, but it can't. It needs 2 more blocks. So everything still comes back to my bench. That's our biggest problem here. Everything comes back to this bench. We could grow so much better if I could get myself out of the production chain. I don't print anymore. I know this is when I finish that batch of octopuses, and I can't. Again, we're not supposed to show them on the Twitch stream, so I can't. Whatever. They're all packed here, ready to go. The first 37 are going to America. The rest are going to Europe somewhere. But when this batch was ready, 3 or 4 days ago, I put them in the drawing boards, put them out of the drawing boards, and looked through it. And this is the first time in 6 years that I've done a major print. I did some owls a couple of years ago. But it's the first time in 6 years that I've done a run of an actual real bunch of woodblock prints. 6 years. Send him the chrysanthemum blocks. Yes. Send him the paper's ready. The blocks are ready. Can he do it? I wonder, can he do it? I don't know. He's doing really well. He's trained as an ukiyo-e printer. He trained at Adachi. That's in the rigs. He trained at Adachi. He trains as an ukiyo-e printer. And when we got him first involved in our work with this one, I don't want to insult the guy here. He's a really competent young man. Very bright boy, wonderful. But he had to unlearn some stuff. And that chrysanthemum print, that Kiku no Kaori print, that's not ukiyo-e. That's not ukiyo-e at all. And if we just give it to an ukiyo-e printer and say, hey, make this, it's going to be not so good. And part of the problem too is the standard we've set. That first batch of those that I did back when I was younger. It's a high standard. How many corner copies did I make? What, of my octopus? I'm not sure what the questions are here. More than I'd like, absolutely. Way more than the Suritaro here. I put 60 sheets of paper in. And I didn't get 50. I got 40 some. Let's leave it there. I got 40 some prints. But also, give me a bit of a break here. Remember, this is still early. It's the first run for that thing. So actually, the first 4 or 5 sheets in my stack of 60 were never, ever going to make it through. They were still testing darker green, lighter green. Oops, the registration there is off. So a little bit of a break. I had 60 copies. You've got to give me a freebie for the first 4 or 5. Then after that, it's my own nickel. But it's been 6 years. What's the question? 4 or 5? I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, the first few copies are no good. Once the blocks are ready, once the print has been made and it's editioned and you know what's going on, the blocks are stable, then you sit down with the sheets of paper. I gave 60 sheets to young Multisound for this, and I haven't seen right to the bottom yet. Let's have a look. He's probably cut the corners on a few here at the bottom. Or he's put some upside down. Got it. He's put some upside down so we can see what's going on. Here. 2. No, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. He's put 3 sheets at the bottom here in reverse, which he's telling me, he's trimmed the corner. 3. So out of 60, he's got 3 here that he is thinking, Dave, these are probably not going to be quite so good or whatever. So yeah, for a pro, you can't bat 100. Nobody bats 1,000. But for a print you've done, for a block set that's stable and tested, you don't need a whole lot of wasted copies, you know. I wonder where these are all going to go, you know. 57 prints all over the world. All over the world. What did I say? I thought Numabi-san could bat 1,000. Whatever. I mean, professional printers get very close. John's here. Hey, good morning, John-san. Of course, it depends too on the complexity of the print. You know, absolutely. Obviously, the more colors, the more impressions there are, the more your chance of getting something off. The more copies you make, the more your chance of losing concentration. Also, different kinds of prints have different levels of flexibility. A ukiyo-e print like this, because it's so clean and clear, even a really tiny defect maybe if there's a tiny bit of misregistration, it would show and you're done. You can't send this print. But a Shin-Hanga type of print that's much more blurry and things are overlaid and overlapped and you can't quite see each impression clearly, you have no flexibility. Something might not be exact, but even you don't notice it when you're checking. Someone's happy to pay up front, help with cash flow. We're okay. Please don't panic. The orders are really, really flowing through. We're doing okay for cash, whatever, in the middle of a disaster, we're okay. If everything totally crashed for us right now and we couldn't ship, if orders went to zero, we could still survive actually, I think now, I don't know exactly, 4 or 5 months with our skeleton staff. So please don't think that we're in a desperate situation here, like some local restaurants or something, where their income is absolutely totally zero, and they've got staff they want to try and keep paying. So thank you for the thought about supporting us. At the moment, we're hanging in there. We have new plans for the first floor here in Asakusa. We chatted about this the last few days, I think, the last couple of weeks. I was pretty, what's the word? Because it's really clear now there's no tourists coming back for at least a year, maybe 2 years, whatever, until the vaccine and stuff is ready. We were pretty much resigned to losing this Asakusa shop. We can't continue to pay high rent for no purpose for a couple of years. But what we've done is we put our heads together, banged our heads together. A few things. We've looked at the space that's here, the environment that's outside, the staff members we've got, what their different skill sets are, what they can do, who's available. We've put that sort of recipe on the table and tried to think about it. Okay, suppose we just came up with some new way to use this space for a couple of years. Not what can I say? Not trying to hold on to our current business, but just imagine that we had 2 blank years erased from our normal business. We've got this space. How could we use this space in those 2 years to do 2 things? To provide enough revenue to keep those people employed, and allow us to pay the rent and keep the space until our previous business came back. And we think we might have come up with something. Way too soon to talk about, way too soon. And actually it's irrelevant to you guys because it's nothing to do with overseas at all, because it doesn't involve tourists or shipping or anything like that. We need a purely local way to use this space for, say, 2 years. And we are cooking up a way to do that. In case you didn't make the connection, that sound of a wave was, of course, somebody has gone to the Great Wave waiting list and put their name in, so that wave sound is one more person going on the wave waiting list. Not the cookies, not the cookies. The cookies are still a huge, huge problem that I don't know how to solve. The cookies are don't even think about that. One of our staff members, Yamada-san, was here yesterday. He was packing prints for the flea market, scanning prints for the flea market. The flea market, by the way, is expanding, not daily, but every few days. The flea market, which had 24 prints a few weeks ago, now has hundreds of prints. So he's been scanning, sending to Rose, she's been researching, putting online. Anyway, Yamada-san was here yesterday. And I was chatting with him about the new plan for using the space, and yeah, he really wants to be involved. And he was saying, you could imagine, Dave, how this is going to go, right? You're going to do this temporary little thing that's just going to help pay the rent, and that's all you expected to do, just pay the rent. And he said, you know what's going to happen, right? And I'm like, I know what you're going to say. It's going to eat my life. But it could happen now. We could, if this is still just smoke and mirrors, if we do this, if we can get the financing, if we can get it set up, it could be a deal. So I should pay more attention here. Have you guys been counting how many were here? We're about halfway through, right? I guess there will be 57 of these, I guess. What's this? The 50. That's a bit more ambitious than we have in mind. I'm sorry. What's this? The eight views. What's this with the muffins you guys are on about? Food business is risky. Views of muffins. What's this? Quarantine is baking time. That's right, the show. That's maybe another idea to think about there, Okay, this is a new one. I had not thought about this, but let's roll this around. Eight views of muffins. Muffin hack cake, can I? Oh, actually, too, I can report about that, change the topic here. The 8 Views of Cats series. I got a phone call yesterday afternoon from young Sugu-san, who is at home. And she is, she said, the first proof prints ready from those blocks, from that block set I carved. So she's going to send some over. Actually, that was yesterday. Possibly, could show up. Well, we were here this morning. Possibly. I have no idea. muffin, okay, evening views, okay. How would you do that though? Okay, how would you do it? Evening snow. Okay, you could put some white cream on top of a muffin, evening snow. Okay, a night rain. What's the night rain muffin? I don't know. Descending geese, clearing weather. Come on, come on. I don't really think, well, that's just my lack of imagination, maybe. Would it have to be decoration on top, or could it be something inside? Evening glow. I'm quitting too fast. Yeah, so what's this? The first rule of brainstorming, they never say why something can't be done, just simply try and think why it can be done or how it can be done. The quickest way to kill a brainstorming session is to say, no, I don't think I can do that. Or to say, that's not going to work. Those are the words that are not allowed in a brainstorming session. So. Not sure the sound we're hearing. Today is Thursday morning. It's the recyclable garbage pickup this morning. They don't pick up in front of each building. This is for cans, bottles, cardboard packs, wrapped up newspapers and stuff. And the drop-off point is down the street, just halfway down towards Don Quixote. Has to be dropped off before 8, and then actually what happens though, of course, early in the morning, the scavengers come. This probably happens in other cities as well. These are cans and bottles. And depending on how the economy goes, cans and bottles can be, worth money, whatever. So there's been fights about this. We put our cans and bottles out, the city starts picking up at 8 o'clock. But before the city truck comes in, individual guys with little trucks and whatever, they come around and scoop this stuff because this is worth money. And there's an interesting legal question. Who does that stuff belong to? Dave buys a can of beer, drinks it, he's got the can. That, I suppose, is my physical property. There's no deposit system here, so I've bought that thing. Okay, I'm going to throw it away. There's a deal. The city says, we're going to pick it up for you. If you throw it out there at a certain time and space, we'll pick it up and take it off your hands. So Dave said, that's a chance. I put it on the pile out there. At that point, I think it's no longer mine, or is it still mine? Once the city picks it up and scoops it, it's now their property. They can buy the aluminum and whatever and blah, 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 sell the aluminum. So if somebody comes along in a little truck and scoops it up 1 minute before 8, is he stealing? These are interesting legal questions. I have no idea. I don't know what the legal answer is. But there's a huge fight because the little old guy, the homeless guy with a trolley who's just trying to get some cans to get $5 for beer or a shelter for the night, nobody's going to argue about that. But guys with businesses, trucks are running around there before the city garbage trucks get there, and they're scooping these cans. I don't think there's money in the bottles, but I hear them scooping the cans. They've got little crushers, crush, bang, crush, bang, crush, bang. Are they stealing? If Dave decided to throw something away, does that mean anybody can actually take it without legal? The Baron cookies are taking the back seat. They are because they're a difficult, difficult problem. I can't crack that nut yet. We've been thinking about it bit by bit. We've had lots of suggestions. We've had people bring samples of Baron cookies. We've had people bring tools to make Baron cookies. That project is still cooking, but it is a massive project that I can't undertake just yet because we want to do that really right. So this current idea is not cookies, I'm sorry. So. The thing about people putting stuff in this, put unwanted goods on the sidewalk free for the taking. The major problem here is garbage, big garbage. If you want to get rid of your refrigerator or something, you're buying a new fridge, usually the company does a trade-in deal or a buy-in deal or a garbage recycle deal. But sometimes they don't. And you're stuck with the fridge. How do you get rid of it? And there's only one way. There's only one way. There's no dump. There's no city dump to take it to. That doesn't exist here. There's only one way. That's to call the city garbage people and you ask for sodai gomi. And it's negotiation. They've got a price list. Used fridge, $45, whatever. And they will come, and you pay the fee, and they will come and take it off your hands. So large-scale garbage. So sometimes what people do is if there's a physical room for it, if they've got a house that there's room in front, they will put sometimes larger objects. Get a furniture, some cushions, whatever, knickknacks or something, and they'll put it in front of their house with a sign saying, "Go ji ni totti kudasai, ji ni tori kudasai." It's free, take it as you wish. But there's no specific arranged day for such a thing. It's a bit easier these days because there are now recycle centers all over the place. When I first came here, there was no such thing. Nobody wanted used goods of any kinds. But now there's a recyclable system. When we did our various renovations in this building, we're tearing down walls and gyprock and stuff like that. That's a totally different story. The city garbage system will not touch construction garbage whatsoever. And first we went to City Hall, we got a license. We had to apply for and get a license for garbage disposal. And then we had to rent a truck, put it in the truck, and then we took our license and our truck full of construction waste out to a disposal company. And they're out in the outskirts of Tokyo, all around. And before they can touch what's in the truck, show me your license, they inspect it, hold the light, this isn't fake, whatever. Because construction garbage is a real, it's one of those dirty fields. The gangsters are in there and it's all over the map. And we paid, and we paid, and we paid. And it's funny, we backed the truck up into the middle of their lot and flipped down the tailgate. And their guys took care of it. And it wasn't just tip it up and dump it. They attacked that truck. 6, 7, 8, 9 guys came in and attacked the truck. They got their gloves on and everything else, and they recycled it. Here's the glass, there's the plasterboard, there's the paper, there's the wood. As they took it off the truck, they threw it into the different piles in their yard. But we had to pay. There's no such thing as a city dump here. We're nearly done with this. We've got 10 or so left, I'm not sure. We're gonna have to do some bark picking here, some of these. Clearly there's too much bark. I'll lose some of these, we'll pay Yamamoto-san for the batch. But some of them, they might have too much bark, and in the attempt to get it out, maybe I can do surgery or I can't. Some of them will end up being spoiled. So that's not his problem. We can't, you can't not pay your printer because there's too much bark in the paper. That's my call. If I sent it to him, he just prints it. So if his impression looks good, if he did a good job, then we pay him for that. But some of them will not make it through the final process, even though I've paid him for his part of it. Well, here, what are we doing? Again, we can zoom in a bit. This is the embossing. We're almost finished here, so this is the embossing on the print. Katsuokusai Burudevi do Yamamoto-shun. The three guys who made this together get their names on it. how's everything going over here? What can I say? We're busy, busy, busy. Some of us are busier than we've ever been, me included. 24 hours a day wouldn't be enough to try and keep up with all the jobs that are waiting for us down here. We're surviving. People are still ordering prints. We have found ways to ship some prints. We can't ship to everybody, but we can ship a bunch of stuff. How many prints are they're up to? I'm not sure. As I said, I think it's 1,700. I'm not sure. It's about somewhere around there. It could be 1,750, it could be 1,800. I'm not sure. We're about 1,700. If you're just coming into the stream, we talked about this at the beginning, and we looked at it, and these prints are still very, very, very good condition. The blue cloth is water. It's just slightly damp. I'm moistening the printing paper just for one quick second so that the embossing gets a good bite. It's just a paper towel. We get them from Canada, actually. We get them from Costco here. They're Scott brand Canadian workshop towels. They work really well. And here's the last one. Last one. And we have some garbage here that may or may not get out. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, there's the 57 sheets. And then the last three, Yamamoto-san has cut the corners. He's just trimmed really lightly. Now, some pretty interesting. Kubota-san, he's an older printer, older than me. Oh, four sheets, 3 sheets. He's older than me. And Kubota-san thinks, he's sort of, I'm going to decide what's good and what's not good here. So Kubota-san himself, when he's doing a batch of prints for us, he cuts the corners, and he cuts the corners like this, into the print. And he's like, he's going to send it to us. He knows we're not going to pay him for it, but he wants to make sure we're not going to sell it. And in a sense, that's a bit insulting to me. He's, sort of making sure, I'm going to make sure you won't sell this print, because I guess he's probably been burned. Or he doesn't trust the publisher to do this. Now, Yamamoto-san, he's okay. He just gives a little nick here on the corner, and I can easily trim that off. So I could do this. I could not pay him, and then I could sell it. Yamamoto-san trusts me to do this. That's fine. Now, why has he nicked these 3 corners? Let's have a look. And my guess, yes. These are going to be, let's look at this. Yes, these are going to be sheets number 1, 2, 3 from his batch, and he's warming up the blocks. Let's look at the worst one. I'm not insulting the guy. This is the first ones in the batch. And look at this. He's getting the block, and he maybe should have let the block moisten up a little bit more before he started. So the block, it was a dry block, throw water on it right away, and if you didn't wait quite long enough, you get this pattern. You can see the dark, the hard, and soft parts of the wood have absorbed moisture to a different level, and this is not acceptable. But again, he's just getting warmed up anyway himself. A little bit of misregistration here. A little bit of white showing. Here, same thing. Along the edge of the mountain here, not quite lined up. So he's called this right. These 3 are not saleable, not at all. It's just getting the blocks warmed up. Here, misregistration. This blue block. Oops, get under the camera here. And you can see it. The blue block, there's some shadow showing around the edge of the blue block. So these are his first 3 sheets, his warm up, bang, bang, bang. And if we had a paper that was that reacted similar to this Iwano-san paper, what we would like to do is this. We get our stack of 60 sheets or so ready with Iwano-san's beautiful paper. Then we would put 3 or 4 sheets of junk paper on top of it. Then the bad and the risk registration and the warm-ups, they come into junk paper. You throw those away, you're good. But unfortunately, there's no such thing as a junk paper that will react for the printer. It'll stretch the same, it'll take the color the same, it'll feel the same. There's nothing else that will do that except Iwano-san's paper. So it's just shogunai. That word we don't like to use so often, but it just can't be helped. The first 3 or 4 copies on beautiful, beautiful paper will get spoiled. Anyway, there they go. I'll put them in the pack upside down as he did, and there we go. Okay, let's move along, let's move along, let's move along. And there's, of course, it comes up every time we talk about this. If you have to throw it away, I'll just take it off your hands. They don't leave this room. And in fact, whatever. What's the question? When you said the first print is bad, he did every block only one first print. No, look, what we do, and this is vitally, vitally, vitally important for us, working in this traditional field. Our goal, because our goal is to make all the prints the same, we have a model next to the workbench, and then we sit there making prints. Because we want them all the same, we keep the stack of paper in the same order. Once the moistening is done, once we're ready to sit down and print, the paper is in that stack. You pull a sheet out and away you go. Now it's face down in the stack in front of you. You pull it out and you put it aside so you can look at it face up. You inspect, you do something different. You pull out sheet number 2, which is face down. You rub it, you pull it off, face up on the stack beside you. You look at it, getting better. You see my point? He's going to make these 60 sheets. It's all face down paper. It goes on his outstack face up. Number 1 is at the bottom. Now they're not numbered. There's no pencil mark on the back, but he knows, I know, we know which one is number 1, number 2, number 3. And from there to the end of the process, that order never, ever, ever changes. Imagine this, you've got your outstack now, they're face up. Number 1 is on the bottom. You flip it over, what's on the top now? Number 1, face down, ready to print. Put them in your in-stack, and away you go with your second color. And it doesn't matter if it takes 1 day or 2 weeks or a year, whatever, you keep those sheets of paper in the same order and you know which one is number 1. So every color that you're testing, bit too deep, bit too light, of course, it's sheet number 1, 2, 3 that get the tests for everything. If you randomized them and mixed them up, you'd never know. You'd just be absolutely lost. Well, where are we? Oh, I know. Where are we? Let's do a bit of tapping then. Okay, I forgot where I was here. We had finished cutting the outlines of the key block, and now we need to tap out lightly some of the waste space and then get the I-ski chisel here. So, just a minute. Let me get... this is not noisy persuading. This is just light tapping here. We're also getting closer to this repair. Once this tapping is done, once all the I-ski chisel work is done and it's cleared off, we will have to face this repair. So it's going to be one day next week somewhere. So light tapping here. Don't worry about your headphones. What's our time? We have a show and tell. If you remind me about 9:15 or so. Yeah, don't panic. It's not going to be so noisy. This is just going to be light tapping here. Is Japan on lockdown? Nominally, yes. In reality, not so much. But well, I think that's as much as I dare. There's a few more, but I don't want to take this big chisel in there. It's okay. All right, all right, all right. Let's get clearing. Is that going to get us close? Missing lots of conversation here, I guess. Sorry. John says, this is my favorite part of the clearing, the 4mm chisel. 4mm chisel. I have good news and bad news. I have chisels. I have look, you tell me, a 12 or a 15, moving down to a 6, and then between the 6, my next one down is a 3, and then a 2, and then a 1, and then a point. What's happening with the camera? It's got its own mind there. What's it doing? It's a fluid head camera. If it's not tightened quite enough, it's on fluid, so it'll smooth. There's a semi-serious point to that, why you don't see those chisels in 4mm, and whatever, I don't know anything about it, so I'm just going to spout off here. For the carving tool we use, the one I've got in my hand now, 4.5 is very, very common. Remember, this idea of using millimeters and stuff, this is new, quote, new in Japan, right? It came, beginning of the 20th century. Before modern days, they had their own, the shaku sun system of measurements. Many countries have had their own inches or whatever, their own measurements. So millimeters are relatively new when you're speaking of this old craft. So why we don't have a 4, it might be related to when I first rented our apartment here in Japan. We came in 1980, I came earlier, but when we came to live, it was 1985, 1986, I guess. Whatever, we rented an apartment, and the building had just been finished, so we were actually the first people to put a lease into this new building. She takes us over there in the car, the real estate lady, and shows us around, and we get out of the car and we go into the building there and walk along, and there's apartment number 101, and it's right next to the mailboxes, and I'm thinking, that's kind of noisy. Everybody and his dog is going to be banging mailboxes. We don't want to be right there. So we walk along to the next one, it's 102. You can see the sign on the door, We walk along, next one's 103. And we walk along towards the end of the building, and the next one's 105, and then 106. And I'm like, wait a minute. Stand back, and there's 101, 102, 103, 105, and 106. And those of you who know something about Japan, you know where this story is going. This is a very, very old thing. Dave was just sort of learning about it, maybe here for the first time. Not just Japan, I think it's China as well. The character for 4 has a similar, it's a homonym for the word death. 4 is ichi, ni, san, yon sometimes, but the character is also pronounced shi. Ichi, ni, san, shi, go. And shi is a homonym for death. So it's like the 13th floor, right? Skyscrapers in the West I don't know if they still don't, they don't have 13 floors. 13th floor, because it's, bad luck. And why these chisels come in 2, 3, and then 6, you tell me. Maybe. No connection, I don't know. That's the bread delivery for the bakery, right? He's going to the bakery for the coffee shop. He's going to go in the coffee shop on the right-hand side. They're still open. They're still trucking away. No change. Not many customers in there, but he's still trucking away. And that must be, I think, his delivery of bread rolls or something. How's it done? Still okay? Oh, a few minutes. Oh my God, a few minutes. Got a Mokonkan New Year's card in the mail today. It might have been in the mail, it might have been mailed last week. And I remember those are the cards that go out to Patreon people, and we print when we get them. So yeah, they go out bit by bit all year long. In fact, Cameron just yesterday gave me a new list. Dave, here's some more Patreon people. These people need share certificates. These people need New Year's cards, etc., etc. So actually, one of the streams next week, I might be doing some more share certificate signing, because it comes out every month. Some Patreon people hit the limit, and they get different gifts. Could be our muffin dough. No, it's oshibori. I'm sorry, I thought it was bread. I lied. This is the warm towel, the warm hand towel delivery truck. It says on the back, oshibori. Nine is unlucky? I didn't hear that here in Japan. I don't know. Not that I'm familiar with. I'm not really hip on the astrological and all that kind of stuff. I avoid it wherever I can. So. Chantel, I know, I gotta work. Just got started. I know. Patron TV, please wait. Patrons, please wait. Your time will come. Please, trust me, your time will come. Okay. Chantal. Actually, this is a vast item, and it would take 100 show and tells, and we couldn't cover it all. So what we're going to do is I grabbed a couple of folders from upstairs. As I said at the beginning of this stream, lots of stuff in the collection is just too big, too complicated, too physically large, too whatever, to do a quick, simple show and tell. So we're going to take... I just grabbed two of the albums from upstairs. There are dozens and dozens, and there are whatever, two of the albums from upstairs. I would like to chat with people about this. If you were here visiting with me, we're drinking tea, hey, take a look at this, I pull this down, we could make a day's conversation about this, but also I'll take 2 points to make. This is a vast collection of prints, but I'm going to make 2 points, well, probably more, whatever. These are a collection of prints made in the Taisho era, 1919, 1920, 1921 era. This was an era when the middle class in Japan was just really growing and exploding. Meiji had finished, the country is trying to modernize, they've now got armies and navies and there's trains and stuff. It's becoming a modern country. And with the change to becoming a modern country, the thing that we call a middle class started to appear and started to grow. And by the time Taisho came along, society had stratified into the sort of way that we sort of see it these days. There were rich people there, poor people there, but most people were middle class. And as part of becoming a member of this middle class in this new Japan, you were going to school now, which was not something everybody did, and you became a normal type person the way we understand modern societies. And as part of that, there was huge interest by people in Japanese history and Japanese traditions and what had gone, because there had never been schooling in that sense before the modern time. Anyway, long story short, there was a huge boom at that time in information, books about the histories and traditions of Japan, books about this, books about that. And some enterprising woodblock print publishers, two in particular, had the idea, let's make a series of woodblock prints, because there was still lots of craftsmen around. Even though the printing presses were here, there were dozens and hundreds and thousands of printing craftsmen still in town. Some two enterprising publishers had the idea, let's do this. Let's hire those old craftsman dudes to make some reproductions of ukiyo-e prints, and we'll do it in a series showing designs from the early days of ukiyo-e and designs from the middle years of ukiyo-e and designs from the end of ukiyo-e. Let's make a historical retrospective series of ukiyo-e prints and sell them by subscription. And they did this, starting in the 19-teens and going through for, I don't have the actual research knowledge. It lasted 3.5 years or 5 years or whatever, I don't know. In that period, there were two companies making and selling woodblock prints by subscription. And they are really, 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 really interesting. They're all modified so that they fit inside what we would look at now as an A4 size piece of paper. Large prints were shrunk, smaller prints were expanded. They were all put into the same format. They covered the older days of ukiyo-e, original prints that would have been made when there were no colors. They colorized them. And the carving and printing is, how can I say this? It's extremely hard. The carving is hard, knife-edged hard. There's no softness or delicacy, but they are so crisp and clean and nicely made. They are done on this beautiful, heavy, thick paper that, my God, it's 3 times as thick as the paper that I used for that great wave you just saw. And the coloring is rich and deep. There's not a speck of goma anywhere. And on this thick paper, how did they do this? I have no idea. The sizing must be done in a completely different way than we do nowadays. They have such a touch and an enjoyable feel. I tell you, I could put this on my plate, get a knife and fork, and eat this. It is just such a palpable, always tasty-looking object. It's soft, it's rich, and they publish these things dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens. I got a batch of these from Yamada Shoten back, I don't even know how many years ago, 10, 15, 20 years. And what they had done was they had packaged them. They had got some old collection, and their normal practice is bust up stuff, put it in the shop. But this time somebody there had had his brains, and he kept the original packaging from the old days. And this is as rare as they come. The number of people who are interested in this are not so many, but this is as rare as they come. This is the packaging from the original set back in the Taisho era. There are 2 competing companies doing this. And we've got a bunch of packages here, and somewhere in this folder, I didn't actually think to get it ready for you, somewhere in this folder also, not only are some with the original packaging, there's one of them in this folder that when I opened up, it had the customer's receipt in there. You know, the customer orders by post, the company sends the prints with the receipt for your payment. And there's the receipt in there showing the original price. I've got it here for somewhere for one of these. And these things, I'm just going to say the same thing again and again and again. They're just to die for. Thick, heavy paper. This one, look at this. I do not know how they did this. The face and the hair are on one block. And it's rich black. There's not a dot in there, and yet the eyes and nose are not crushed, and yet the paper is thick, 3 times as thick as our normal paper. It must have been so soft at the time they printed. And I don't know how they did this. I have no idea what's in here for sizing. Look at the gradation at the back here. You can see, right, even from where you are, you can see the embossing in this thing. These are just glorious. And the market here, these have almost no value. They're trivialized here. Real ukiyo-e collectors wouldn't even look at these. People collecting for the British Museum, junk, or throw it away. Who's interested in that stuff? Japanese people nowadays, nothing. Who cares? It's just irrelevant. How much did I pay for these? 2,000 yen each. And every time I see these come up, they come up now and again on Yahoo auctions, 1 or 2 at a time, or maybe 20 at a time, or whatever. I think I showed you once maybe a year ago, so I had just got an actual album of these things at that time. Look at this, look at this, look at this. You've seen this. This actually, I reproduced this one years ago. It's in our own catalog. This is a reproduction of a Suzuki Harunobu print. And I mean, look at this. Come on, look at this, look at this, look at this. There's embossing on her headpiece. But there's snow. It looks like it is. This is Braille. How do we read this? A, B, C, D, E. It's just like Braille. But as I said, there is a taste that's missing. Some of the old ukiyo-e taste that was softer and more gentle. These are there's a single word. The carving is hard. Hard. Not mechanical, just somehow it's hard. I don't know of any better word to say it. These guys were just so good at this. Chuck, 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 chuck. But it's missing a bit of feeling or something. But these are technically just unbelievable. The white dots here, that's the paper showing through. This is paper, not printed. These white dots are paper, not printed. So when they cut a block for this background, they cut little holes. Chuck, 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 chuck. We saw this back at the beginning of our stream here on a smaller scale. Now anyway, so as I said, I've got these folders. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these prints. There's no way I can go through and show you all. So I thought, what's interesting? And in the second folder, there is one that I thought would make a nice little story. As I said, I bought a bunch of those back many, many years ago. But since then, every time I see these come up, I keep buying them wherever I can. They're always cheap. They're beautiful. We're not going to sell these things. They're for our own collection. But my God, they're interesting. And look at this. We get this. Here's one David bought X sometime, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Here's a couple more, the same design. Remember I said there was 2 publishers doing this. So lots of them reproduced saying, there must have been one guy did it first and the other guy just copied it. So we have the same designs quite often done from 2 different publishers. And they are almost identical. And publisher B must have simply bought publisher A's stuff, took each print, slapped it on wood, and recarved it and recut it. Because it's an absolute copy. But we have something really, really, really interesting here. I mean, this is if you're a printmaker out there, this is gonna blow your socks off. Karen, are you sitting down? You know how we do this. You know how we're doing this. The Patreon chibi's here. I am going to carve the key block for this Patreon chibi. Then once the key block is finished, I will print it a number of times and transfer those prints onto color blocks to carve the colors. Now, you're with me here, okay? There's going to be a bowl here. So the outlines of the bowl are visible on the key block. When we do the transfer to the color block, the outline of the bowl will be visible there. So I can cut the color block for that bowl easily because I can see the lines on the key block. But suppose there was something in the print where you needed information for your color block, but it wasn't on the key block. Suppose, for example, okay, you've done your key block. Think just for a moment here of the black lines. Sorry about the lecture here, but this is the way it goes. Think of the black lines. You've carved the black lines only. The color blocks don't exist yet. You're going to transfer that to a different block for the kimono. Now, there's a kimono pattern that is not present on the key block. So for the color block, you will be able to see the area where you want this purple color, but you can't see the pattern. So at that point, somebody has to take one of those transfer sheets and draw the kimono pattern on it, then paste it down and carve it. So your information about the area is taken from the key block, but your information about the details of the design is taken from what's drawn on. You with me there? Okay, now, Look at this. Up on the top of this print here, the shoji screens here have lines on them. Now, you've taken your transfer from the key block. But where are those lines? Well, there's two choices. The guy could sit there and say, okay, that's the area for the lines. Let me just draw some lines here. But this is a reproduction of an original print. And those lines' position was decided by the original print, but they are not on the key block. So what do? Well, here's what these guys did. When they carved the key block for this, they carved the key block and they left on the key block a bunch of little black lines, dot, 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 dots here and there to show the guy. Once you're doing your color separations, hey, by the way, guy, here's some info for you. Here's where to draw those lines. Then the color block would be carved with those lines. Then when the color blocks are all finished, you go back to the key block and you pop these off. So what we have here, this sheet I'm holding in my hand, is a test print from the workshop. They had cut the key block. They had done the transfers to the color block. They had printed it to test everything. And then when it all looked okay, away you go. They would then have knocked off these little black lines, and here you go, and there's your published edition. And you can still see there's a bunch of stuff at the end here. Look at this. They haven't trimmed this down. This sheet we're holding right here is one of the first proof copies from the workshop when they were making this print. And you can see it's an absolute mess. Look at this. Does that bird register? Not even, look at this. This is the printer just slapping it down onto the wood to see if this thing is going to work out, what kind of color balances they're going to be using. This could be actually sheet number 1. You lay it down, it comes up into the guy's face, you get your knife out, you move the registration marks, and away you go, you're safe. This looks like sheet number 1 of an early run of this thing before they cleaned it up and then did their actual publication. When I saw this in the shop, I shit bricks. I mean, give me a break. And the shop, it was just a junk print. I forget what I paid for it, $10 or something. But your typical browser in the shop doesn't know. All they see is a mess. But Dave here, who knows how to make woodblock prints, he knows what these are. This is called muda bori, waste carving. You carve it knowing that it's going to be taken away later. Your work is totally wasted, but it had to be done to transfer that information. This is one of our treasures. This is one of our treasures in our collection. Absolutely one of our treasures. It's funny saying that, this has huge value for me and I'd like this and I want this, but then ourselves, what do? Every day, every week, every month we're up here, we're making prints, we do proof copies. Oops, doesn't line up, let's do that. Those proof copies, 100 years from now, someone would say, oh my God, look, you can see why they didn't line up. It would really be something wonderfully interesting for somebody. They could learn from it. What should we do with that stuff? We can't put proof copies into the market. We can't sell them. It's junk. But they would be hugely interesting for someone trying to make prints. Back in Ome, in the workshop, I worked there starting in 1989. We sold the first prints when I started the Poet Series. There's a cabinet in the Ome workshop with folder with all my junk test proof copies in there. It's junk, but it's also Vivid KP. My proof copies line the compost pail. A lot of us do too, of course. We don't keep every single one of these kind of sheets. I mean, the stuff for the octopus last week. I can't reach it now. I mean, I did the three or four, test, what color. Some of that's already been chopped up and in the garbage can. But I keep proofs that are interesting. Or, here's what we did, here's what we did. So, someone's asking, what's this on his right hip? You're asking me details now. I do not know. No, this is in the home or this is in a shop? This is in the home. It's a Hina Matsuri. This is the doll festival setup. Whether this is in a home or this is in the Yoshiwara, I don't know. There's an argument going on, or she wants something, he's stealing candy. I don't know. You make up your story. I really don't know. These are interesting. They look like shells to show seashells. This is a rich, rich, rich place. In you know about the Carta game, where people pick cards and try and match the cards. Before the cards came along, they used to do this with shell. It was called kai awase, kai, seashell. They would take a seashell, clean it up, open it up, and put part of the poem on one side, part of the poem on the other side. They go on the floor, and you have to match them up. And these are shells from that kind of a game. It's Hinamatsuri. Anyway, there we have it. Just when I was looking upstairs this morning for something to show you, this is about as rare as they come. Interesting or not, I don't know. Whatever. This is Taisho. This is 1919, 1920, 1921, 1917, somewhere around there. I really don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know. It's 100 years old. This is just about exactly 100 years old. And to finish off the stream, let me just mention that one thing. These prints from 100 years ago, right? This was a sheet of paper printed 100 years ago. The paper is still beautiful. The paper is gorgeous. There's no decay. There's nothing. This Japanese washi is to die for. It's to die for. Our simple little postcard prints, 200 years they're going to last. Now if you bought, for example, suppose you had a box and inside it there's a print, it's going to last 200 years, and maybe there was a muffin inside, that's going to last 2 hours. Nice combination. Who knows? Anyway, away we go. It's Thursday morning. I have got now to get to work doing my sizing on the second batch of the octopus print. I'll be back here again Saturday morning, almost certainly working on that same Patreon chibi combination. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Signing off, over and out. Thank you. Having too much fun here.